Today, the King of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan visited the acting federal chancellor after both met yesterday at the Global Disability Summit.
Majesty, it gives me tremendous pleasure to be able to welcome you once again to Berlin today. Jordan and Germany are linked by close partnership and friendship. Over more than 70 years, close and trusted relations have grown between both our countries. Jordan is an anchor of stability in a region that is anything but stable. Majesty, through your active and prudent diplomacy, you have personally contributed to peace, stability and security in the Middle East. I would like to thank you most sincerely for this here and now. Thank you. The dramatic situation in the Palestinian territories, especially in Gaza, was again very much the focus of our exchange of views today. Germany looks with great concern at the recent developments in the conflict. As we see, the release of the remaining hostages has to be the overarching objective of all our efforts. Dozens of men, women and children are still being held prisoner and treated in a cruel fashion by Hamas. It is important that they be released so as to allow peace to take hold. We need to return to a ceasefire. We need to ensure the release of all hostages, and we also need access for humanitarian aid to Gaza. The situation becomes more acute with every passing day. For more than a month now, no humanitarian aid has entered Gaza. This cannot and must not continue. Far too many people have been starving, have been suffering under the continuing brutal violence and the lack of medical support and help. It is clear that lasting peace that not only stabilizes the situation in Gaza but also in the West Bank can only be achieved through a political solution. And therefore we have to return to serious negotiations with the objective of agreeing a post-war order for the Gaza Strip that protects the security of Israel. And Germany continues to hold fast to a two-state solution, the only lasting and sustainable solution that grants peace and security for the Middle East. And Jordan plays an outstanding part in that regard through its diplomatic initiatives. Your personal efforts, Majesty, through the immense Jordanian support in the field of humanitarian assistance and through the stabilizing part that the Hashemite Kingdom has played as the custodian of the holy sites. The situation in Syria, too, has been on our agenda today, and the situation on the ground continues to be tense. The country still has a long path ahead of itself. Hundreds of thousands of Syrians have found shelter in Jordan, and we are aware how enormous a challenge that is and continues to be in economic terms. And we are very grateful to Jordan for its commitment in that regard. Germany will continue to be a reliable partner of Jordan when it comes to supporting the refugees, but also when it comes to stabilizing and assisting the economic development in Jordan and its neighboring countries. Our exchange today has illustrated that Jordan and Germany are side by side when it comes to supporting peace, providing humanitarian assistance, creating better perspectives for a better future. I'd like to thank you, Your Majesty, for the open dialogue we had, for the constructive exchange of views today and in the preceding years. If I may, I'd like to briefly comment on another equally relevant topic. The recent customs tariff decisions by the American president I believe to be wrong. I believe it constitutes an attack to a trade order which has created prosperity for the continent and the country, the world at large. The world economy will suffer as a consequence of these decisions, these hasty decisions, and consumers all over the world need a stable economy. In the United States too. So the American government has set out on a path where at the end of the day we will have nothing but losers. The European Union has the strongest single market in the world. This gives us strength. We are ready to engage in talks with the American administration in order to ward off another trading war. The President of the Commission has been very clear in that regard. Germany and Europe continue to embody the concept of free trade. We aim for consultation and cooperation instead of confrontation. Europe will continue to respond in unity and with determination to the decision by the American administration. Thank you.
My dear friend, thank you for your warm welcome, and we have just concluded productive discussions on ways to take the long-standing partnership between Jordan and Germany to further heights. And yesterday we both had the pleasure of opening the Global Disability Summit, co-organized by our countries in partnership with the International Disability Alliance. The summit reflects our joint commitment to advancing the rights of persons with disabilities, and we look forward to building on its outcomes. It has also been a pleasure of holding several meetings, including with representatives of a number of German companies yesterday, and these meetings are opportunities to identify areas of cooperation that we can build on, from industry and commerce to technology and energy. We are grateful for Germany's support in technical education and vocational training, as well as public sector modernization, and we look forward to continuing to work together to advance the partnership and to promote peace and stability in the Middle East and beyond. Israel's war on Gaza must stop, the ceasefire must be reinstated, as you said, sir, and aid flow must resume. The humanitarian tragedy in Gaza has already reached unspeakable levels, and action must be taken to immediately address it. The international community must take a stand. Jordan has been doing all it can to help alleviate the dire humanitarian situation, sending aid through all available means. And we are very grateful, Mr. Chancellor, for Germany's support for the humanitarian response in Gaza. Reinstating the ceasefire and implementing its phases will enable these efforts to continue. And in parallel to this, action must be taken to put a stop to the dangerous escalation in the West Bank, where tens of thousands of Palestinians have been driven out of their homes and villages. Displacing Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza threatens to plunge the entire region in instability. And violations of Muslim and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem create more tensions to undermine any opportunity for peace. The way forward is through a political solution on the basis of the two-state solution. This is how we could guarantee peace and security for Palestinians, Israelis, and the entire region. And we appreciate Germany's support for the two-state solution and your positive response to the Arab-backed reconstruction plan of Gaza. We agree on the need to work towards regional stability by supporting Syria and its efforts to preserve its security, stability, and territorial integrity. Germany has been a key supporter for Jordan's efforts to provide essential services for Syrian refugees over the past decade. We look forward to seeing a stable, secure Syria, where refugees can return safely to contribute to rebuilding their country. Chancellor, as you near the end of your term, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your friendship with Jordan and your efforts to advance peace and stability in the Middle East. Vielen Dank.
Randa Karachi, Jordan TV. Your Majesty, during your recent European tour, you have engaged with several European leaders. How do you assess the current Jordanian-European relations, and what joint efforts are being made to address the pressing regional developments? Mr. Chancellor, the question goes to you. Arab nations have put forward a comprehensive plan for Gaza's reconstruction, which Germany and other European countries have welcomed. What steps are to be taken by the European countries and the other national countries to step forward and take this into action?
Thank you. Well, obviously, we've had a very good, successful visit here in Germany, as we've done so with other countries in Europe. I believe that we're at a stage now where Arab and European relations are even stronger, and we're working closer together to see how we can deal with the challenges in our area. So obviously, foremost is putting the end of the war in Gaza as quickly as possible, and looking at how to move forward, having come from the United States, talking about reconstruction and the political process, hopefully, that allows us to move forward in our part of the world to solve our problems. And again, we're not just talking about the Israeli-Palestinian issue, we're looking at, hopefully, what is happening in Lebanon as well as in Syria. So I will be meeting other European leaders in the next couple of weeks, but I can say because of this relationship that we've had with many of our European leaders, this has been very fruitful and engaging on how to move forward in the coming months.
Eine kurze Antwort.
If I may briefly respond, the basis of everything, basically, for allowing it for everything to proceed is to restore the ceasefire, to achieve a sustainable ceasefire. We need to see the hostages that are still being held by Hamas be released, and then we need to make sure that Gaza can be reconstructed. Gaza, especially its destroyed infrastructure. Germany and many European countries are the countries that are providing the vast share of humanitarian aid and support. We will make sure that we continue that cooperation with our partners in the region, but also with the United States of America, trying to do our level best to ensure that reconstruction can take place, that will allow the people in the region to lead a life that is human and humane. For me, it is always linked to having a perspective to live in a state of one's own. Therefore, the two-state solution is always part of a negotiated outcome. The hope that this conveys is the hope that lasting peace will be possible. Thank you. Chancellor, you briefly commented on the custom terrors of the American administration. You expressed the hope that one would have a chance to engage with the government of the United States, but the increases in terrors are even bigger than we feared. The European Union said that they would take countermeasures. How should one respond? And an additional question, because the Israeli Prime Minister happens to be visiting Hungary these days, despite the fact that the International Court of Justice has issued an international arrest warrant.
König, sehen Sie die USA überhaupt? Sehen Sie die USA?
Do you still consider the United States to be a reliable ally? President Trump, after all, seems to be supporting the plans of the Israeli government that aims to get as many Palestinians out of Gaza as possible and to be taken in by Jordan and other countries in the region. Do they continue to be a reliable partner?
I think if you remember our discussions in Washington, D.C., I had mentioned that the Arabs are working on a reconstruction plan as well as dealing with the politics of the situation. Obviously, the breaking of the ceasefire has been a tremendous setback for all of us, but I believe in the coming weeks and hopefully when the ceasefire is reinstated, that the Arab foreign ministers will be coming to Europe to explain to our European partners how to move forward on these challenges and then going to the United States. So we do hope that we will have a very articulated plan on the rebuilding of Gaza that can get the buy-in of everybody. Thank you.
Es ist notwendig.
It is necessary for the European Union to respond in unity and to respond in a way that it is outspoken enough to drive the message home, so to speak. We are, after all, the biggest single market in the world. And we have every means at our disposal to respond in unity, cohesion, and with determination, sending the message to the American administration that we have a toolbox and we will make use of the tools in our toolbox. But at the same time, it would be important that in acting as we will, we lay the basis for a possible negotiated solution. I mean, this should be taken for granted. Even if Europe were not to respond, it would lead to difficulties in the United States. It would lead to a rise in the import prices on American consumers, and that would be a problem for them. Industrial production in the United States will be hindered, will be made more difficult as a consequence of the decisions taken by President Trump. And of course, that will trigger difficulties. All of this are economic standard knowledge, you know. You can read it in the respective papers and experiences we have gained over the years with trade conflicts have equally underlined that this is what is going to happen. But it will not go away out of itself or on itself. So one has to engage, one has to show muscle. But in doing so, we also want to convey our readiness to engage in discussions, negotiations, because we believe that to be the best outcome for Europe and also for the world at large. We've come to see it with regard to many products, really. there seem to be so many supply chains that things are being transported back and forth 100 times across the borders for some products. And of course, that cannot be changed overnight. That will trigger enormous economic difficulties. Some things will not be produced in a proper fashion. And therefore, I believe this to be a serious economic mistake that will damage the United States without anybody doing anything. But as I said, the European Union will respond, but it will do so in a prudent manner and in a wise manner. That is what we stand for. We want to go back to the times where it will be possible to engage in fair trade with all the countries in the world. We have expressed our views in that regard more than once. I don't expect that we will, arrest him in Germany. I cannot conceive of that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your interest.